Okie dokie. Here's the first installment of the fatness, I don't know what you would call it, blog, video blog, whatever. Anyway, I'm here on the beautiful Monument Hill. Look at this. When it's wet, it's absolutely gorgeous. I'll be spotting some kangaroos and wildlife and whatnot along the way. I'll put it back on my chubby face. What have I got to say? I think the last 6 months really let the health take a break, which is probably not a good thing. Just regular midlife stuff. Had to have a bit of surgery. Just ended up laid up for a bit. Then problems with nerves and all these annoying things that, you know, you don't really want, don't really ask for, but seems to be. Oh my god, I'm puffed out already. This is like 30 meters into the journey so far. And anyway, feeling old, genuinely feeling old, so got to do something about it. There goes a wallaby. Hang on, I'll see if one of these guys. They're dark coloured, gorgeous looking creatures. Let's go down here. He'll be hopping down into the gully. There we go. Got a rabbit, a hare, and oh, I'm doing a terrible job. Can we see him? No, got a kookaburra instead. Hey, Kooka. God, they are gorgeous birds, aren't they? Look at this guy. So handsome. Anyway, I'm not special. Got to do something about it. So I guess I've probably, over the last year, popped on 10 kilograms. Can feel it. Doesn't help anything in any way. So my goal is to drop that. And also just improve the general fitness. Like, had a friend post up in the old Facey some interesting data. He used fitness and high intensity exercise to improve his prognosis through his recent troubles with cancer. Poor bugger had lung cancer. I don't know, it must be all 10 cigars a day or something like that. No, he's actually a healthy guy, lived healthily as far as I know. Right, that's another thing, we can mask our habits and present our persona on social media as being something we're not. But no, he's a genuinely healthy dude, usually, apart from the cancer. And his wife got whacked with cancer at the same time too. Posted this really, I don't know, tragic photo of them sitting in hospital getting chemo together. It sounds lovely, but it's pretty sad. Anyway, he's posting up his data, and this guy's like a data junkie. So he's got a million data points in his in his library to draw from, and he produced something that was pretty interesting, which was his sleep and his max heart rate. And then I went and had a look at mine. I've only been collecting data. I think he's been doing it for years. I've only been doing mine since January, when I got this guy, and bought some scales as well. So this guy, the scales, are all integrated into this app, and it shows me, I think I've ascended an altitude of many tens of meters. Great. Look at this down here. Hang on. Put on the... Look at this. It's gorgeous. That is a word I use a lot because I love it. Just think about the time here, hey? Like millions of years eroding down this hill. All the plants, these trees. Like, this is not an ancient forest by any means. I'm sure it was picked bald at some point. Kilmore's Victoria's oldest inland settlement. So you can imagine that people ran amok here as much as they could. So I don't see much old growth here. There's some over that ridge, over that side of the ridge, down there, but not many. When I first moved up here, I thought, maybe we'd be able to come and pick some firewood. And I asked the council about it. And it turns out there's some really interesting flora and fauna here that's worth protecting. And the branch fall and tree fall is important in maintaining this ecosystem, and we shouldn't disturb it. So here's an example here. Left some poo, some kind of animal poo, probably fox. Looks like fox. It's got a lot of fur in it. This branch has fallen down. It's rotting along nicely, just falling apart, getting all the fungus and mold happening into it. She looks pretty alright, but give it a whack. It's certainly full of water. And yeah, this would have been one of those fungus that gets in, eats around the side. Usually got lots of insects coming in, then they turn the centre to dust, and it's like they come in and crunch the bones of the tree until there's nothing there, and then it blobs onto the ground. So the data points he had were pretty interesting, and I'm going to use that as a motivator for myself. Looking at my data since January, I've not max heart rated nothing, mate. I've done bugger all. So that's something that needs improving. And also, my resting heart rate is up in the 60s. When I was a fit person, and younger, obviously, 45 beats per minute, no worries. Super achievable. Could get to that level of fitness from being a fat ass to pretty fit in weeks. I think that's something that I've always been lucky about. So, I've got that confidence there that I can easily do this. And the reason I haven't is a combination of old man medical problems and a lot of laziness too. I've been misallocating my bandwidth, so I'm going to turn that around and be much more incredibly selfish. Get a good view up here. Starting to get a view. Starting to see across town. Let's see a building through there. Let's see if I can zoom this. There's a building in the distance. Alright. Will I be heading over in that direction? No, that's too far, I think. It's not on this hill. So what I want to do is increase the max heart rate and drop that resting heart rate. So I want to see those two lines expand, move apart from each other. And I think that's a good indicator of my fitness. Oh, I've made it to the top already. Monument has appeared in front of me. Let's check this out. All right. So over here is a plaque that was erected last year to commemorate the 1824 Human Hovel expedition. Let's see what they've got in here. So we celebrated the centenary of the explorer's journey with the construction of this monument, plaque on a rock. Alright, so this is built from the remnants of the old Kilmore jail, and yeah, we have a good viewpoint here. Notably, it says of the nearby expedition. They passed around this area, not actually over this hill. Oh yes, we had Lord Stradbroke. $1924. All right. I think he's probably got some descendants living here or something like that. Anyway, Margaret Gardner, the Governor of Victoria, came up here to open this, and we caught up and then saw her again at dinner. Went out to dinner with friends, and there are limited dining options here, so it was just funny. Kind of kept on popping into her throughout the day. Anyway, bumping into her, popping into. Jesus, Nathan. All right, inside this thing. Imagine we'll have some bats. It's dark. Lots of bird poo. I don't want to really go up the ladder. It's cold and wet. Oh God. Let's give it a whirl. I'll pop my head up. Well, this is the top. Been up here several times, watching the moon rise, howling, doing all that sort of regular stuff, normal stuff. Anyway, I'll show you the full view another time. Sniffles. There's one town where you'll get the sniffles before every other town. It's Kilmore. It's always just slightly colder than the other towns near Melbourne. Oh, we've got a marker there too. That's great. God, you get some strange cats up here. Look at this this fellow here. So there was just a barbed wire fence that's been sitting here for a million years, and he's come along and put up all this cyclone fencing. He's chopped down all these trees across his property to make posts, so these are not going to last. You saw that, what happened to that branch that had fallen down earlier, and then he's made these posts all along the length of the ridgeline here. He's going to grow some pines for hedging, and this was an interim solution here where he put up some shade cloth, which is subsequently blown down. You know, good on you. Let's have a look here what he's done with the. So these pines will, don't know what species they are. I'm not sure how tall they'll grow, but we've got a power line right here, and it's interesting to see if they end up being 20 meters tall and bushy if he's planted them a bit too close to the power line, and then the power company's going to need access to his land to trim them, or he should maintain them himself. The chances are that he's introduced a significant bushfire risk to the town. So if only I knew someone who did stuff about that kind of shit. Anyway, so the privacy will be good. Okay, we're at the top of the hill now, past the monuments. And I would come up here during COVID. And I'd look out, I'd stop here, and I'd take like 1 million photos. So for a couple of years while we were in this on and off lockdown relationship with the central government, I would come up here to clear my mind. And there's the white-winged chuffs there, getting about. Made friends with this gang over time. Funny bird. They actually kidnap from other flocks to incorporate into their own. They've also got a really funny panic distress. Well, it's a warning. It's not really distress. And then they fly up into the trees. Up at the farm, I got away with it a couple of times and making them fly up to the trees until they figured out I was a stupid human, and then they stopped ignoring my poor imitation of their warning. Let me try it. Nah, these guys are not going to fall for my bullshit. Anyway, he's got the data behind him. He's improved his sleep. He's done all this amazing stuff. And it's good to be able to see something and being able to track something. It's that whole god-awful 90s management speak of if you can't measure it or whatever it is, how can you improve it or whatever. And it does actually ring true. So I'll be taking advantage of that in short order. I guess we want to dodge the cancer. The biggest risks to your health when you're a man approaching 50, I guess, number one, I think suicide. I'm not worried about that because I'm just too interested in what's going to pump out the end of this machine, like the machine of the universe. And I'm very interested in things. What has he done there? Oh God, just really poor quality posts he's made to add to his defense. And workplace deaths are not such a problem in Australia anymore because of decades of good work and evangelism to make workplaces safe. I think it's a premium built into the price that's worth paying. And then, cancer, I guess, is the other thing that's going to be the emerging threat to someone who's in their late 40s looking towards 50 in the next couple of years. So if I can do something to improve that, which is healthy weight, healthy lifestyle, less booze, well, that might just prove impossible, but anything's possible. And just getting out and about. So there's that whole mental health thing that people talk about. I think there's probably two kinds of mental health. There's deviating from the norm in a healthy direction or in an interesting direction, and then there's deviating from the norm into self-destructive, harming others, all that sort of stuff, right? So if I can try and not be normal, I would like to steer that into the more interesting space. And so there's all philosophy behind that. I've got friends who are not coping well with the challenges they've been given in life. And they've been given some very significant challenges, and I do think about them a lot and how they might improve themselves, or how things might be improved for them. But there is that baseline, right? You know, your luck. What is it that you get? Some people are born into really wealthy families, but also some people are born into really wealthy families with genetic problems because of all the cousin. And here comes the rain. Nice. Very atmospheric. Maybe I'll discover a body. Strongly doubt it. No one goes missing here. This is where people who do go missing come to. Going to be a fantastic view around here, usually when the weather's good, of Mount Piper. And that's just not going to happen today, that view. Yeah, anyway, I was having a conversation with that person who's on Struggle Street at the moment, and they've got what was my solution 10 years ago doesn't seem to. Oh my god! All right, this is fantastic. I hope the camera does. Look at this. So that's the rail line down there, and it's kind of extending up to that really bright patch, which looks funky. It's very Lord of the Ringsy up here. I love the whole thing. You've got that, more hobbity, that Lonely Mountain thing off in the distance. That's Mount Piper, extinct volcano. As everyone knows, Victoria was absolutely covered in volcanoes millions of years ago, 3 million, 13 million, whatever it was. That's so cool, that shiny patch over there. It's like silver beams shooting through the mist, which is actually just rain. We're looking at rain here, there's no mist. That is just plain old rain. It's thick mist. Jesus Christ, now my legs are wet. And what worked well for me when I had my challenges 10 years ago, so that's actually, it's a 10th anniversary back in January. Might not work for this person, right? So there's no point, I can say this worked for me, but apart from that, I'm not really qualified to give advice, I'm just there to give support. So I think experimentation, figuring things out along the way, it can be a combination of things as well that helps get you back on track. For me, I just found reading really helpful. Just lots and lots of reading. So I was getting through a whole bunch of Western philosophy before I got onto the next hobby, whatever that was. And I found that helpful. Also found a brief period, I think of 1 month, on a thing called selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor. I think that's what it stands for. So yeah, my GP said, give this a shot. It was like something of the lowest dose or half of the lowest dose. And I found that helpful. But also at the same time, as helpful as I found it, I really saw it squash the personality. And I quite enjoy that super hyper personality that I have. I give myself a lot of pleasure from being hyperactive, and I think a lot of people do. You kind of get addicted to your own behaviours, and if you like pushing the limits and exploring new things, a life on mind-altering drugs and brain chemical influencing drugs, brain chemistry influencing outcomes. While it might be great to get through the day-to-day, do you really want today to look exactly like tomorrow, like the same day next week, the same day in a month? Like, is that what you're striving for? If it is, fantastic. Some people want to live on a straight line. I really enjoy the zigzags. far out, it's cold. I'll switch hands. The left hand is going into the pocket of recovery. Wind blowing through the trees. It's like they're singing. Nathan, why don't you eat a hot dog? I haven't eaten a hot dog in a long time. I think I was living in Marrickville the last time. I had a hot dog and it was made from German sausage. I'd brewed a ridiculous amount of beer and millions of different kinds of beers, and we had this German themed party where we had German sausage hot dogs. So not those red things in Coles, not those sulfur bombs. I think they'll kill you. I think if there's something that's probably another leading cause of death of men in their 50s, is either the health outcomes from consuming too many hot dogs, or possibly even choking on hot dogs. That might be a country specific problem. So I find it's really interesting that it does work for so many people, but I found it to be an absolute handbrake. So I did the proper thing. There was another part to the treatment as well, which was talk therapy or whatever. So I went to this one session, and very nice lady, had a candle, had all this stuff, and I'm like, first of all, do we need to have the candle? And she's like, oh well, you don't have to have it. And I thought it'd be nice. And I said, oh no, it's nice. We'll keep that candle burning. And then it's like talking about stuff. And it's like a confessional. I guess that's probably some sort of ancient attempt at therapy that some religious people tried. And at the end of it, she's like, oh, how are you feeling and all that sort of stuff. And so I feel like I'm on those drugs that I'm on. So I'm quite indifferent to everything right now. I feel that's where it's put me, and I just don't care. So not only had I lost the hyperactivity, I'd had actually lost the ability to sort of give a shit, and that was a revelation to me that I'm gonna slip over on this bloody hill. Yeah, there you go, you dork. And I thought, that's it. I'm going to go off these drugs. So that was helpful. But I was heading in that direction anyway. And once I've concluded something, I usually becomes my resolve. I stick to it. Oh man, why did I come this way? It's going to be so wet down the bottom. And then I went a second time because I thought I need to, confirm this. Either confirm my resolve or experiment to see if I've got some bias. So I went again, and then I think they give you like 10 free visits, and I had absolutely no intention of paying for any of this. But when I say free, I mean from Medicare, of which I pay like 10. Hey, how you going? It cost me like 10 grand a year, right? So there's that whole myth of free healthcare in Australia. It's just not true at all. So, after that second visit, thanked her very much for her help. Just said this wasn't going to work for me, so I just went back to reading. And then, after a month of sadness, masked by the non-medical non-sadness, I called it quits and just went back to being my regular baseline, but with a new sort of personal philosophy out of it. Maybe I'll delve into that personal philosophy later on, do a bit of sharing. And so that was it for me. However, this person, having studied Western philosophy and psychology, doesn't feel that that's the right fit. So it's still an avenue that could be explored again. Maybe pick up the old books and look at it from a new perspective. discover something new or combine other people's ideas into a new form and develop from that. Man, why did they let that? So there's a subdivision here, and it always bothered me that they would chop into the hill like that on this particular gradient, and I thought, wow, I hope they do some landscaping there, otherwise you'll end up with some erosion out in your backyard. Let's have a sticky beak, eh? From the road. You'll end up with erosion, you'll have just this fugly view in your backyard. You'll have a fantastic view out the front, but just where you go and sit and do stuff around the house, out in your backyard. Anyway, I didn't think that was a great build or a good development outcome. People will spend their money, won't they? Lot of sirens going off in town. So we've got a nice view across the top of. So right now I'm looking out over the top of the race course. So this is one end of the race course, and then if we pan across down there, there's the cricket club. Beyond all these trees, right? You can't see it. I can't see it. I don't have X-ray vision. And yes, what's that bloody awful plant called? Cassinia arcuata or something like that. Anyway, they call it Chinese scrub up in Bendigo region, where the farm is. Something like that. It was a dominant species in the Chinese camps when they were gold mining back in the 19th century. So, yeah, finding what works for you is good. What's not good is not finding anything that works for you, and that's bad. Or becoming, as no judgment on people, hyper dependent on the one and only true cure for what ails you. Which is a really tragic outcome for so many people, because we're told on the label it says one thing and it largely does it, and it might meet our needs mostly, maybe some kind of super majority of needs being met, but perhaps not all, and there's more that could be explored beyond the confines of medicine and formally approved / recognised therapies like that, talk therapy stuff. So yeah, it does come down to a lot to luck where you end up in life. Well, it entirely does. So whatever the simulation's got in store for you, which is usually just, actually that's probably an interesting thing to talk about. We have this idea in our heads that there's no future predefined path. It's entirely open to us, and limited to the degree by what choices we can make with the resources we have at hand. So probably an easy way to put some parameters around that. But just to think about what that actually means. If you've got a lot of options available to you, why is it that you choose that one path? You'll probably go through some process of rationalization and come to a decision where you feel you have made a decision between two or more competing options, and then you make your decision, and then you either praise yourself for the incredibly successful outcome that you've achieved and give yourself a lot of credit for that, boost your ego and whatnot, or you have a terrible outcome and you boost your ego by saying it wasn't your fault that the terrible outcome was achieved, or you have a terrible outcome and you say, geez, if only I had have chosen X, Y, and Z. So of those three outcomes, there's more. Obviously, we could probably really pull that apart. But of the three outcomes that you have there, I think the most interesting one is the failure option, where you reflect upon it and then consider the alternative choices that you've got there. But do you actually have alternative choices, or is that some kind of illusion? If you want to just consider what the fault of the human species is, I think it's our ability to perform memes. So when we reproduce the behaviours based on an expected outcome, and you're aiming for an optimized result, the memes that have most likely aligned themselves to those outcomes will be dominant in your decision making. And if you have few memes and not many available to you, then your future is assured. Whatever is going to happen as a result of your decision making is going to happen. You do not have as much influence as you think you do. And certainly when you look through time, you look back in history at every single thing that's happened, it's a straight line, isn't it? It's just this leads to this, leads to this, leads to this, which brings you ultimately to the present. And if you don't have a big library of memes to come from, or if you don't have the ability, and this is where I'm heading with this, to create new memes, then your future is absolutely committed. So the only option that you have available to you to alter your predestined future is to create memes. And I think that's the rare skill in the species, is being able to create memes. Copying memes, built in. It's the default mode. That's how humans work. But being able to create new things is where things get interesting, and then you can actually influence the outcome. But to take that further, if you're a meme creator and you're going to create memes, then you're probably creating those memes experimentally from patterns of successful memes that have led you to create successful memes. It's like memes on memes on memes. So everywhere you go down, it's just going to be memes. But at least you're increasing the variety. So where that falls apart is where you don't pass on the memes and others don't reproduce the memes. So you'll end up with, or you reinforce the terrible memes and the maintaining the status of those memes over millennia through violence and subjugation of violence against people who create memes, new memes, and subjugation of people who would be happy to pick up the new memes if it wasn't for all the violence. And you know, you can look around at one particular meme, and you don't have to dig deep into your own backlog of memes to know which meme I'm talking about, but there's one there that is just the wrong direction for humanity. And the fact I don't have to mention its name, yet everyone knows what I'm talking about, tells us a lot about, well, we know what that meme's about, but it tells us a lot about the contemporary memes that are dominating society right now, and how incredibly limiting they are at creating new memes. So I think we're finding ourselves in a period of meme stagnation, and a lot of people are saying we should go back to these memes to how they were before, and that will solve the problem. Meanwhile, other people are saying, but we've just picked up these brand new memes in the last 20 years and we've been really successful at driving public policy and creating laws around these new memes to force them through society, because this is the way. And so I've seen a new religion established out the back of those memes, and that's been absolutely fascinating to watch unfold, and how people break their minds over it. That's been really interesting, and I could probably talk about that for hours at length. Anyway, if you don't have the ability to create new memes, and you know, selfishly for yourself, to dig yourself out of your own hole that you find yourself in, then you're pretty much stuffed, bro. But if you create good memes and you think they might scale at a civilizational level, then you should probably get the word out. And but there's another problem, isn't it? It's like the machines are built to reproduce the memes. They absolutely are being reproduced. The learning new memes phase of a human's life is probably, there's the foundational memes that come through in early childhood, and then there's the adopting new memes, counter memes through your teens and 20s, and like it's just textbook stuff, isn't it, right? Everyone's so special, but all exactly the same. And so we've got a new generation coming through that have come up with new memes that are a new religion, because there's just way too much magic and fantasy in there. And so I'm not sure that they're going to be amenable to either traditional memes that have brought them to their existence since the dawn of time, or their new religious-based experimental memes, which look like they're paying terrible dividends to its adherents right now. And I think we'll see a lot of that come out in the courts over the next decade or so, especially when talking about the phases of life and memes, especially when the women get to their 30s and start hating on their mothers, and they've got their shopping list of "you let me," "you said," "you did," all that sort of stuff, right? So, just default mode human behavior. It's not a dig at women or anything like that. We're all fundamentally hormone-driven meme machines, and women have different hormones to men. So we will play the memes from different angles. So that's all coming to a head now, I think, if I read accounts in the news. But yeah, this old meme that's been around for a long time, it's trying to assert itself against the traditional memes that have brought me to this point in time, and many others in my society, and the memes that meme has brought other people to their point in time, and radically different thinking, and people talk about values in that. I think that's probably a way of simplifying the exposure to the memes that we've had and adopted when we were younger. So certainly I'm very open-minded. I'm born in 77, so I went through that whole social upheaval of our health was informed by AIDS in the 80s. Meanwhile, diets were being made more profitable by the mass producers of food. A great period of economic prosperity in the 90s reinforced the memes that were dominant in the 80s as being seen as the successful meme products. And then an entirely new set of circumstances arose with at the back of Mikhail Gorbachev's perestroika and glasnost. So I think we're now, like the young people now, the memes that they're trying to perform in the streets with protest are actually come about from the peacemaking efforts of a guy who was a truly great man, probably the greatest peacemaker of the 20th century. Absolutely, without a doubt. Anyway, so he did some very interesting things where he said, we had been backing this meme for political reasons out the back during the Cold War. That is not going to lead to a peaceful outcome for them, and they need to get on track with what I'm attempting to do. And in that out the back of that, believers in that old meme who were, the fighting force. It's a big roo. You keep on bouncing, fella. Out the back of that, he said, look, this is the option that leads to peace, participation, living in harmony, all that sort of stuff. You do you, by all means, but don't expect others to do you. And because I think he got memes, right? Anyway, he set up an ancient meme, a very old meme, supported by a couple of other state actors, to basically allow that ancient meme to get up again. And that's why you saw a massive increase of adoption and forced participation, particularly amongst women and girls, in that meme over the last 30 years. So it goes back prior to all the American interventions in the Middle East. It's goes back to basically the end of the Cold War, and that was an option. And then I think that option was exercised, but it wasn't maximized until we had social media and being able to pump mainline memes straight into the bloodstreams of people during their teenage years in their 20s, when they're really trying to max their own memes by adopting whatever's on the table. Anyway, I'm at my car. That was the end of my walk. Heart rate barely moved. Super unfit, but managed to climb Monument Hill, which was good fun. Will I post this on the internet? Maybe it'll be like all my other documents where I just delete it. There's a really good bit in the autobiography of Ben Franklin. I won't waste your time. We'll go into that another time. But there's some really interesting thinking he had about the persistence of memes, and his thinking was actually inspired by. I'm talking about, aren't I? His thinking was inspired by this religious group, and he said, you know what, your religion's actually, it's not too bad in the scheme of things. It's like, you're on you set up a path to peace. This is something you should get the word out. And they said, oh no, we don't want to commit because these memes haven't been optimized yet. We don't want to get the word out in case it becomes some default thinking for the future. So there was clearly a meme creator leading that community that's bumped into Ben Franklin. And then years later, when he's written his autobiography, he's written that down as like a notable experience and something that he wanted to call out. So I've got that book at home. I might go and have another read of it now. Catch you on the flip side. Is that my catchphrase? That's shit. That is shit.